Greetings, everybody. Welcome. This is the first tour, first exploration into a world called the NecroAsylum. What is the NecroAsylum? Well, let's get into that. The NecroAsylum is a place very similar to that of the backrooms. It is a dimension within our dimension. It is a place that exists kind of in our reality, but not really. You can access it. You can be granted entry through various means, various portals, if you will. There are certain areas, maybe areas in your town, in your city, or wherever you live, that are considered to be weak spots, which you can enter that way. You can enter through those spots, and also entities can enter our world from those spots, those areas. I suppose similar to the back rooms, there are layers to this. There's levels to this. But the NecroAsylum itself doesn't have the levels of the layers. You see, the big difference is the NecroAsylum, to get there, you have to pretty much force your way in through navigating through puzzles and environments that would be off-putting, and you wouldn't want adventure. Like the closer you get to the NecroAsylum, the more distorted your reality becomes. Okay? Things that you recognize, environments that you were just in, will be transformed, will be disfigured, be out of place, and you can get lost in it. You can get stuck in it. Very similar to the back rooms. Very similar. I suppose in some ways it's similar to SCP in that we are going to be talking about a monster here, a creature that exists in the NecroAsylum, and it is the reason why we're talking about it is because it has been seen, it has been observed to be walking among us, and we're talking about a creature, a monster known as the Glutton King. The Glutton King. What is the Glutton King? Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that right now. More specifically, though, the Glutton King, number P10827, is a creature that exists in the family of the Colossus Blomar, which are described as extremely obese, large entities. They take up an amazing amount of weight. These entities are so massive that even walking up the stairs could destroy the stairs. Like the steps could be destroyed with their sheer weight. They do not misunderstand this. Do not take this out of character here. I am describing a particular entity. You might think I'm talking about someone you know who might be struggling with health issues. That's not what this is about, okay? This is clearly a fictional character. Well, it's not fictional. It exists, but some people may doubt it. But everything I'm telling you here is based on fact that of information obtained with active agents and active operators that have ventured into the NecroAsylum, have seen this thing firsthand, and then has been studying it, watching it, observing it as it lives in our reality. Now, this family that it belongs to, the Colossus Blomar, it's like I said, they are described to be very large, and what sets them apart from I guess, an obese man or obese woman is really the monstrosity of it. There's an organism inside the organism. Okay, I'll get into that here. It's the other characteristics here. They gorge on a mass amount of food. They consume chicken nuggets by the pound. They engulf troves of potato chips by the hour. They would inhale mad stacks of Domino's pizza on the daily. Okay? They are extremely dangerous for any community because they're going to eat up all the food. They're going to take up everything. They're going to consume it all. And it only makes them stronger. The one big characteristic, the one thing that sets a Colossus Blomar, specifically the Glutton King, apart from a obese man or obese woman, is that through gluttony, it gets its strength. This creature grows in strength and power based on how fat it is. So by gorging on family-sized sour cream and onion chips, it gets stronger. Through gluttony, it gets its strength. Now, these creatures may resemble human. Their appearance is thick and greasy. It's a thick and greasy skin that acts as a protective sheath for a frail and pathetic creature that exists within. Is it Ethan Ralph? Someone mentioned in the chat, is it Ethan Ralph? Ethan Ralph is part of the family, is a Colossus Blomar, but he is not the Glutton King. The Glutton King, that title has been earned to somebody else. Okay. Ethan Ralph is a character, is someone that people already know his name, his true name, the Gunt. That Ethan Ralph is actually not even his real name. That's just something that that was given to him, but really the child that was born and it was named Ethan Ralph and was raised, that's no longer Ethan Ralph. It is the Gunt. It became that is a different stream. That is a different topic. It is possible for entities from the NecroAsylum to take possession of someone you know, and once that happens, it is unfortunately too late. Exorcism is not something that actually exists, not in practice, not active. When I'm referring to these entities, the NecroAsylum, it's not Satan, it's not hell. It is Earth, but it's not. And it's not like a mirror universe like the Upside Down, like in Stranger Things. No. It's like a void of nothing within our reality, where things that shouldn't be dwell. They live, they thrive. Anyway, getting back on the topic of the Colossus Blomar, more specifically the Glutton King. Let me lay this out here some more, make sure you understand. What I was getting at is that someone like the Glutton King, and I guess like Ethan Ralph, the Gunt, their skin, their greasy, thick skin, is a protective sheath, is a hide for a frail, pathetic creature that exists underneath. And while only so much is known about the Glutton King and the species of monster it belongs to. Even less is known, far less is known about the creature that thrives within. It's hard to get access to that creature because once you cut them open to dissect them, to do any sort of forensic, autopsy, that creature tends to shrivel and die. It needs the body. It needs the protective layers in order so within the Glutton King, which you might refer to as PPP or Ashton Parks. Unfortunately, Ashton Parks is not human. He's not a human being. He has been possessed. His body has been possessed by a NecroAsylum organism, and he has become the Glutton King. When the Glomus, now, as you know, PPP, I'm going to call him by his true name. The Glutton King is alive and well right now. But very similar to other Colossus Blomar, if they are dissected, the organism inside will shrivel up and die. There is an entity living within, which is why how fat it gets, how big and gross and disgusting it gets. It actually, you might think, wow, how is it possible for a certain someone you know to be so obese, but yet be able to move around and still breathe? They might actually be a Colossus Glomar. It's not like if you know somebody where despite how big they are, they seem to be functioning and moving around, they might be that. They're feeding something inside that's trying to survive. That's like a little shrimp. It's like a little black shrimp, okay? And it's in there. It's buried within in the core. Okay. Now, they know that the Colossus Blomar are very slug-like. Well, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I meant that about the little shrimp organism inside. It's more like a slug, which the Colossus Blomar, they also are they become a slug. Like, have you noticed there's certain people that they become so large, they're not like walking pig people that you may describe, but they become like a slug entity, like a Jabba the Hutt. Well, there's a reason for that. Now, like I said, this is not to be taken towards large people or people struggling with weight. It's not about them. But there are certain people, and you know what I'm talking about, who may be a Colossus Glomar, and you know it to be true, when their legs actually start breaking down. Their bones start breaking down. Their legs, their muscles start deteriorating, and they start is hope that your weapons to use to destroy it, if that's what you intend to do, could penetrate that hide. Now, a Colossus Blomar by nature is not really aggressive, and the Glutton King specifically is not known to be aggressive. It may rage, it may go on rants and tirades about this, that, and the other, like a bloated lesbian, but it's not going to hurt you unless it. The only way it would hurt you is if you were to get between it and the food. Okay, if you were to take its food away, it will destroy you. If you were to take its simple pleasures like internet, YouTube away, it may destroy. If you take its whatever its large source of dopamine is, set aside the food, take that away, it might destroy you. At least try to. And I say destroy you because it's not going to be fighting you with human strength. It's going to be fighting you with the strength of a monster, of something that shouldn't be. It could very well summon strength that you could not comprehend. Okay, I'm telling you, the Glutton King may actually have strength that you may not exactly know. You know, if you want to test this theory, you could try to provoke and poke the Glutton King, but I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it. Now, once again, people might be reluctant, hesitant to believe this. Be like, no, you're just talking about a large person. You're just talking about people who suffer with the weight, and that is not it at all. A Colossus Glomar is someone that when they consume a mass amount of food, and I'm talking about, stacks of dominoes on the daily, things like that, that they don't become diabetic, that they don't suffer a cardiac arrest, they don't seem to suffer any sort of impairment other than just being larger and sweating more, maybe high blood pressure. Okay. And when that happens, then you must... The only logical conclusion there is that it's no longer human. It's a monster. There's something within. Now, there are many examples of the Colossus Blomar. You guys mentioned Ethan Ralph. He's one of them. There are other plenty, examples of female, male. There's Lizzie. Lizzie's definitely one. Boogie 2988 is definitely one. He is a Colossus Blomar. But like I said, just being fat doesn't make you one. Like someone like Gahul, if you know who he is, he's not one. He's not a Colossus Blomar. Now let's talk about specifically the Glutton King. The Glutton King. Its history, where it comes from, and how it became what it is. This is based on information obtained from highly skilled operators that have ventured into the NecroAsylum when they first saw this. When they first saw a Colossus Blomar. When they first saw their first sighting, they didn't know what to think. They were startled at first. At first, they didn't think it was an organism. They thought it was a wall. They thought it was a mound of crap. They thought it was a mound of poop. I don't want to be too vulgar here, okay? But that's what they thought it was. Just a giant elephant dung, okay? But it started moving. And they noticed there was like, there's a heap of trash that it was shoveling just food into it. Now, in the NecroAsylum, there's not really food, but just other organisms, other entities, and it was eating them. It was eating like the rotten flesh, of these zombified, these weird other lesser organisms. It was eating that. That was the first encounter of a Colossus Blomar. Okay? During that encounter, it was not threatening. It was non-threatening, but they did try to take it in. The operators, they tried to tase it. The moment they did that, they set it off. Obviously, the tase did not work. The electricity did not work. They had to... No one was hurt. I mean, well, no one was killed, but there were some injuries in the process here. But they were able to eventually subdue it by injuring it badly. Anyway, and they were able to bring it back and study it. But then a couple let's say a couple of decades from now, from today, there was observed an entity in Canada that didn't seem human. Did not seem human. In fact, it seemed to have emerged from nothing. And it was living in an area in Canada that was considered to be a weak spot, a soft spot that one could venture in and out, back and forth from the asylum. Operators went to go study this. Obviously, they don't approach and say, hey, I'm watching you. I work for this particular company, which is, for right now, we're just going to say the company, okay? Can't reveal that, okay, for particular reasons. But then they studied, they watched, they observed, and they saw this monstrosity grow. The thing it loved the most was food, hiding, pretending to be religious, pretending to be a Christian, and fame. It wanted to be famous. It wanted to be a preacher, like its father. I say it like that because at that point, at the time, it was noticed to be a not human, but a NecroAsylum entity. They no longer consider the parents to actually be parents. Maybe they were adopted at that point. It's strange. They have to do it that way because there may come a time when it has to be, handled because of, well, it could pose a serious threat or danger to somebody else. It could try to create more and create other weak spots. They don't want that. They don't want that at all. So, they've been watching, they've been studying, been observing as this Glutton King grows in size, gets fatter. Pursues its dream to become a preacher man, spreading the gospel. And sometimes this happens with Colossus Blomar. They seem to focus on an identity to kind of protect themselves, to shield themselves, a front. And it's a total front. It's a total hypocrisy. It's a facade. It's just it melts away like plastic, like a Barbie doll. It's completely fake. In this case, the Glutton King chose a religion. But it failed. It failed miserably. And he was then left to what do we do? And how does he get his fame? How does he do that? Because he saw the fame as getting money and getting food so he can get fatter. He drifted towards internet, stream media and YouTube and doing that stuff. And you can see this. The writing's on the wall. You know what I'm telling you is absolutely true. None of this is hog crap or pig crap. I'm trying not to cuss here. This is educational. I want it to reach the kids. I want it to reach as many people as possible. They need to be informed about the Glutton King. He is a dangerous entity, and he lives with us. He could be very dangerous to your community. He could eat up all the food, all the McDonald's, all the KFC sandwiches, everything, okay? All right? Right now, this thing is what they call the Keno Casino. I'm not really sure if that's still active. But YouTube streams of various types to get donations, and to turn those donations into something he can eat. And you could see this, and that the more he streams, the more active he is, the more money he receives, the fatter he becomes. Why is that? Why is that? And the fatter becomes, it seems like, where's his health? How come he doesn't have crippling diabetes? How come he could still kind of move about a little bit? What's going on here? Well, why is he like a slug on a couch? Because he's not human. Because he's a Colossus Blomar. He is the Glutton King. And inside him, there is a slug of a creature, a black slug of a creature that's growing stronger as he gets fatter. Now, whether or not the Glutton King will be dangerous has yet to be seen. Like I said, they're not really dangerous for the most part. So, he may actually be fine. May not pose any issues, which is why he will continue to be active. Ethan Ralph is a Colossus Blomar who is dangerous, but he evades and he escapes. And at this point, it's kind of like, what do they want to do? When I say they, I mean the company that's watching them. Do they really want to take him out, or do they want to see what he does? They're kind of torn on that. Next week, we will talk about another NecroAsylum entity. Where do we go? Do we want to talk about the Mormon Shaggy? That's the name he goes by, but that's not really what he is. He's not even really human. He's an entity of sorts. He once was human, but this is also a case of possession. And that, I don't want to get into the graphic detail of how these individuals become possessed and become these monsters. Okay, almost like imposters. If you play the game Among Us, that's what they are. They're not human. There's something inside that's gonna devour you. In this case, in that Mormon Shaggy character, there's definitely something dangerous within that's trying to come out and going to destroy. We could also talk about the Welling Diddler, which is in the class of Pervito. Okay, we'll probably talk about that next time. All right. So this was the first episode, first run of the NecroAsylum, and it was probably rough around the edges. Maybe I poorly explained what the NecroAsylum is, but I think I did okay for the first start. Okay, it is not the backrooms. It is different, but it could exist in the same reality. The big difference is that the NecroAsylum itself is a specific place within a void. It's a void. But to get there, you have to go through many levels, and you have to find a weak. You have to find what they call an entry point, okay? And then navigate, sure, through corridors, maybe figure out certain... But everything you try to navigate, let's say it's like hallways, corridors, and doors. The wrong door will send you back to where you started. The right door will send you further on. Okay? All right? Now, there's a possibility, though, with all the options available, that you could just get lost. And you could end up nowhere. You could just end up lost and confused and find other people that are also lost and confused and have no idea where they're at. That's what happens. There are people that are lost and confused, and there are people that have starved to death in the or not in the NecroAsylum, well, in there, but also in trying to get there. When trained operators go into it, they go with the help of the company, which helps with their technology that they have available and their expertise on this. They know where the weak spots are. They can sense changes. They could sense where the right moves to make to get further entry. Because think about the thing about this you need to wrap your mind around is that to get into the NecroAsylum, you have to essentially penetrate it, and it doesn't want you to be there. It doesn't want you there. You have to force your way into it. And you good luck at that point. Because once you're in, especially if you don't have anyone helping you, communicating from the outside and how to get out, you're not getting out. You're going to end up dead. You're going to be consumed, be eaten, be devoured. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this exploration of the NecroAsylum and the Glutton King. I will see y'all next week.